right, he's about to fall off there. Hello and welcome again to another Freethought Forum, a program by the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalist of East Tennessee. I am John Clark.
And I am Rick Cassidy. And we want you to know that if you don't believe in God, you're not alone. Right here in East Tennessee, you can find freethinkers, atheists, and agnostics. And this show is for them. People curious about living a life free of supernatural beliefs.
As always, this is a call-in show. We only have one phone line, so we invite you to email us questions live at freethoughtforum@yahoo.com. We'll be monitoring that during the show. If you call in, please have a name or question and comment ready. And to limit confusion, don't forget to mute the audio on your TV or computer.
The Atheist Society of Knoxville is a local meetup group that encourages friendly social atmosphere. Tonight we will meet at Barley's for happy hour after the show for food and drink and conversation. Friday we will meet at Agave Azul on Kingston Pike. Find the silver-jacketed copy of the God Delusion standing upright on the table and bring a friend. All we ask is that you bring an open mind and some courtesy. And if you plan on proselytizing, be prepared to hear some rather blunt criticism.
The Rationalist of East Tennessee meet on Sunday and entertain lectures with lively roundtable discussion and reflections book club. The first and third Sundays are for the roundtable, and the second and fourth for the book club. January has no roundtable scheduled for the holidays, and the 22nd is going to be reserved for an annual business meeting.
And you can visit our website for additional monthly programs and details, including times and locations.
Well, December is on its way out, and the new year is upon us. By now, you've been with your family and friends, filling your bellies at various feasts. Many of us continue to gather as the new year approaches, and leftovers are showing no sign of diminishing. This is going to be part 2 of our The Straw Man Who Stole Christmas episode. We had a slew of callers last time.
We did.
And we didn't quite get to all the material. And even, I don't even think the point of our show last time. I mean, we got to lots of great points, though.
Exactly.
And we're going to try to get to those again.
Now, this is a call-in show, so we do encourage you to call in. We'd rather, talk to you and discuss what you think about atheism or our show or your beliefs than what we have. Or you can email, and we can answer your question that way if you're reluctant to call in.
Right, and if you just have something to give us some information. Last week we had the caller call from Kentucky about the superintendent and his gross ignorance of evolution and really his job. So if you have something similar to share with us, just give us a call. Got a couple of things in the news for you. Let's see. A lot of times we will talk about an anti-evolution bill or legislation that is starting, like either last week we had Sumner County Schools and how that was an anti-evolution bill, but you had a church-state separation breach. And when you hear about these things, you may not always follow them and understand how they develop. Well, I caught one in the National Center for Science Education developing in New Hampshire ahead of time. This is going to be, there's 2 of them, but the one in particular has been pre-filed for February the 9th of 2012 in the State House of Representatives. It's House Bill 1148, and it tells the State Board of Education to, quote, require evolution to be taught in the public school systems, or in the public schools of this state, speaking for New Hampshire, as a theory, including the theorist political and ideological viewpoints and their position on the concept of atheism. And, end quote. So specifically mentions atheism, specifically mentions some things that make this person, or at least the people who wrote it, kind of ignorant, or as propaganda tool. Let's see. Science doesn't require a person to carve a statue, chisel commandments, and make orders for some ideology. In a science class, we're interested in the information, the facts that support it, how those conclusions have been come to, and for this person to say specifically, I'm sorry, what?
I mean, they bring up their thoughts or their position on the concept of atheism. Atheism doesn't have anything, or it has no place in a classroom.
Well,
you can't have a teacher taking a position on, his disbeliefs.
Right. Well, not officially. That's the issue here, and this is going to come right into our show with straw manning. Let's take this apart bit by bit. Just look at it for piece by piece. Science does require evolution to be taught in public schools of this state as a theory. That no one disagrees with that. That's
okay. But I think that speaks to the ignorance of the lawmakers. Okay, where evolution is a theory, I don't think they're using it in context.
Right.
It seems as just a swell idea, and that's not what it is. It's a scientific theory.
Right. This is the difference between what we casually throw about as theory versus when an academic says theory. And this is, well, I've got a trick here in a second, or not a trick, so to speak, but a tool to let us see how ridiculous this sounds given certain lights. For example, require gravity to be taught in public schools of this state as a theory. Require thermodynamics to be taught.
It's only a theory.
I mean,
germ theory of disease, right?
Yeah, it requires cell theory to only be taught as a theory, of course.
It's only a theory.
And this is where I think lawmakers clearly know, lawmakers, lawyers, they know exactly what they're doing. But the innocent people watching that are being gripped by the propaganda don't pick up on it as easily. And so then you can take it and run with it, and you take the other notion in, oh, you mean not a fact. Well, gravity's a fact.
Well, any scientific theory is
it's
based
a fact,
on a body of fact and testable claims. Or it doesn't get to the point where it's accepted as a scientific theory.
So be mindful of that. And now let's continue on here with this interesting statement, including the theorist's political and ideological viewpoint.
Has nothing to do with the science.
You can have an ideological viewpoint for abortion, same marriage, and
it has nothing. The ideology of the professors or teachers or whatever have nothing to do with the theory. The theory just explains the facts and pieces them together in a puzzle.
Right. So it's like
make predictions and.
I should carry this to test it against other cases outside of evolution, for example, because this is targeted at evolution, okay, and it potentially could be targeted at we've mentioned in shows before, Big Bang Theory. This does have other implications and certain geological theories. Anything that models the Earth is older than 6,000 to 10,000 years old is a prime target for these people. So. Why is their political ideology even interesting? This is as far as anyone's concerned, this is an official teaching the material for that class. That's that. It has nothing to do with.
Well, I mean, exactly. It's not like just just atheists believe in evolution. I mean, isn't the head of the Human Genome Project a devout
Christian?
Right.
Well, and actually, a good portion of Christians in this country. They're signed on. I mean, they're not ignoring this information. But those of you that can't quite reach back and remember your high school classes, you could fall victim to this type of thinking and to this propaganda. Let's see, and then the very end of that, well, we just kind of touched on it, their position on the concept of atheism. Why pick atheism apart from deism? From theism.
A teacher espousing atheistic views or Christian views or Muslim views in a class is
well, and we've got to be careful to jumble those together, because also we talked about last time, atheism is only it's really just one view.
Right.
There's no
topic,
God. So
on one topic.
Yeah.
And it's not science.
Yeah.
And it's not politics.
And it doesn't have to be science. It doesn't have to be evolution. There are Buddhists who are atheists. There are Christians who are atheists.
Yeah,
There's
there is.
Shelby Spung. I think I'm saying his name right. He's a former bishop, I believe. He wouldn't call himself one, but
okay.
Let me tell you. Listen, this is where you have some play with that term, because if you were to ask him, he's going to tell you there's no supernatural entity, and that's where I would draw the line and say you're stumbling into atheism now.
Isn't Robert M. Price a practicing either an Anglican or a Pentecostal?
Yeah, and you see a lot of that too, I think.
So,
but we got a call, and we're going to go ahead and bring a caller on the air. Hello, caller. This is Freethought Forum.
Do you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, I got a couple things. I if you don't mind.
Please. Go ahead.
Okay. The Big Bang Theory, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I was a construction supervisor for 30 years, and we planted dynamite in holes and everything else. And anytime we had an explosion, it destroyed things. It never put things together, never put things in order.
I got you.
It brought disorder.
Okay.
So how could a Big Bang another question that goes with that, the Big Bang Theory would have had to consist of billions and billions and billions of stars and everything else that's in the galaxy in it. So where did that come from?
Okay.
And then where did all the space come from?
Okay, let's just make sure. Let's restate your questions. You want to know how disorder or order came about.
Okay.
You're stating that order
From disorder.
Okay. I think what you're doing is the mistake that you're making is you're making an analogy to an explosion. The Big Bang wasn't an explosion. Actually, the term Big Bang was coined by the theories.
Sagan?
Not Carl Sagan. I think his last name was Hoyle, I believe. He actually had the steady state theory, and he used Big Bang as a derogatory.
Steady state theory?
Well,
yeah.
I'm sorry. Did we get a nickname for you?
Or a name?
Oh, Paul.
Paul. Okay. I just wanted to. It's nice to know or get a name. Paul.
What's your name?
Oh, John. John.
And I'm Rick.
Yep. And let's address that though. It is a runaway metaphor when you talk about an explosion, and this is the exact same conversation I had over the holidays. Actually.
Is your name Rick?
I'm Rick. He's John.
Yeah, I'm John.
I think
Wait a minute. The guy in the brown shirt, you're Rick.
He's John.
I'm John.
Wait a minute.
John.
Wait a minute. It says Rick and John on the top of the screen. Rick and John, and the guy who's speaking in the brown shirt must be Rick, right?
I see. We've
No.
Well, I'm John.
In the wrong chair.
This is kind of trivial details though, but I'm John, and
you wanted to know my name. I just
okay. Yeah. Oh,
okay.
All right, Paul. Well,
call you Joe. Okay.
Yeah.
That works.
It works.
Hey, Joe.
Paul. So the runaway metaphor here is the use of explosion. It's not something like a bomb. Okay,
It's not a metaphor. It was something that was presented by scientists years ago.
The notion that it's an explosion.
Right.
Explosion.
Right.
It's
when
not
you
an
say
explosion.
A Big Bang explosion took place.
That's not how the theory goes.
Yeah.
That's a misconception of
right.
what they mean by Big Bang. Big Bang is probably a bad term for it. It just caught on.
Was that brought up before Einstein's theory?
Yes, it was. Well, it's in the middle of it. This was right around the time that Hubble was looking at all the galaxies. What happened? Okay, let's talk about Big Bang and how we coined the term, or at least say that everything came from a singularity. That's what we need to be talking about.
Yeah. How does all that we see and the bigness of all we see
There.
and the enlargement of all we see and the amazing thing of all we see come from
one point.
a Big Bang theory? I don't understand that.
Well, look, the theory is what describes it. Now, the Big Bang,
So evolution is a theory.
You just missed the first 5 minutes of the show, but look,
I wasn't listening. I just got in.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. We were talking about theory versus fact and how they're similar and how they're not. But we can't go into it again. But right now, suffice it to say, it's a theory that describes what happened. It doesn't tell you everything that happened. The answer to a lot of this, coming from me personally, is I don't know. I pass the buck to physicists who do. Now, if you look out in a telescope and you can detect this Doppler effect from the light coming from all galaxies, you see that the universe is expanding away from us at a rate that is increasing. And if you just roll that backwards, that's where they get the notion of a singularity coming from, and the point itself.
If you roll it backwards.
Correct. In other words,
you'd have to bring everything back into the same.
No, that's just to say where it came from. You know, if I throw a ball across the room and you know the trajectory, then you know where it came from.
But I would know it was a ball and where it came from.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing. We're looking at the other galaxies. We see that they're moving away.
And you're saying that you guys don't know where it came from.
Well, I'll tell you what. You know what? I'll go out there and I'll say, yes, I don't know where it came from.
Okay.
But there are theories, and there's more evidence that suggests otherwise. I'm not really. It's hard to say.
Once you get back to the Planck time, which is as far back as we can kind of, I guess, theorize to a certain point, it gets too small, and then there's quantum elements that I don't understand, and I tried reading and.
Well,
go ahead, Paul.
Just the idea of traveling to the sun at 186,000 miles per hour, the speed of light.
Per second.
You know, like 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Get to the sun. 7 or 8 minutes. I just don't. From an Earth point of view, standing on the Earth, I just can't, for the life of me, figure out if our sun is one of the small suns, one of the small stars.
Right.
All these big stars that
I understand
that
it's
are
an average
there.
star.
How in the world could that possibly be?
Well, I'll tell you what, Paul. We'll look at the evidence and we'll make as many claims about it as we can. What we won't do is make a claim that we don't know. We won't make a claim that's not supported by evidence. Right. All right. So the supported by evidence claim would be that it came from a singularity. How the singularity came about, you're beginning to ask questions that are on the forefront of physicists around the globe right now. We have the Large Hadron Collider in Geneva is currently looking for what's known as a Higgs boson. I know we're trying to figure out how gravity interacts with matter.
Newton,
a lot of this is beyond me.
Gravity, when the apple fell from the tree.
Gravity. Yeah.
What about?
It was Isaac Newton, right?
Right, but Isaac Newton was wrong. I mean, he was right, but he was wrong, and we need to be.
Well, now explain that to me.
He wasn't complete. He didn't know everything that we know now. So his theories are limited.
But if you jump off a building, is what he was.
Newtonian physics still works. Yes,
it works.
That's correct. Yeah, but when you use global positioning system and satellites, you need to take into effect
it's
relativity.
Insufficient, right?
And Newtonian mechanics are insufficient.
Okay, a couple other questions, real quick.
Yeah,
all right. Number two, you call yourselves rationalists and atheists, and this is a free thought forum, right?
That's right.
All right. So allow me to have my free thoughts for a minute, all right?
Another minute, go ahead.
Have at it.
Okay. When the first man stepped on the moon, do you remember what he said?
Go ahead.
He said, God created the heavens and the earth. That's what he
All right.
said.
I don't think that's
All
what
right,
he
Paul.
said.
That's what. No, I'm serious. This is what he said.
So are we.
I
We don't
believe
think
it was
that's what he
something
said.
like one small step
Wait
for
a
man,
minute.
one giant
Let me
leap
finish.
for mankind.
And God created the heavens and the earth.
All right, Paul, I got to let you go because you're starting to preach at us. Thanks for calling.
No,
all right?
no, I want to.
All right. Always
Those were
sad to
questions
do that.
for what celestial mechanics
Well,
and
yeah,
physicists, not a couple atheists on
Not
it.
to say that we can't have an opinion on it. Our opinion just isn't that informed.
Yeah,
And at the
there's a
end of-
lot of physics. There's a lot of math that
Right.
you have to look into.
Well, at the end of that opinion, the important part is that I will say I don't know. I pass the buck to the experts, and not just any experts. I mean, we got a whole system of academia here. I would like to address one of his other questions. See, Rick, if you can answer this one. He said, and we didn't answer this, how did order come about in this chaotic event?
Well,
I thought that's worth answering. So let's.
I believe it falls along the lines of the natural laws. And the natural laws are natural because they appear in nature. They are descriptive laws as opposed to prescriptive laws. So I prescribe that you don't drive a certain speed limit on the freeway. That's a prescriptive law.
Well,
a descriptive law or a natural law.
From what I understand, we start talking about thermodynamics here. It's funny I brought that up earlier, but you're talking about first law, energy cannot be created or destroyed.
Is that first law or second law?
The second one is that when it is transferred, it loses
entropy is.
Yeah, it loses some, I believe. I'm staring at other people to see if I can get a response. Yes, and but here's the thing is order. Take order on Earth, for example. Earth is not a closed system. Energy comes from elsewhere, and so therefore, in this system, we can still have this order. It's still going to. Yeah, let's get a physicist call in. Actually, that would be great.
Exactly.
But I just got out of Bio 1, so let me raise my flag here. It is a closed system, or it isn't a closed system
because of the
energy
sun.
from the sun can come in and affect things. The gravitational interaction of the Earth and the sun, the moon, can cause shifts and change the energy here. And those theories that we know of, plate tectonics, and then when it comes to life, abiogenesis isn't quite a theory yet, from what I understand. That is the chemical process of inorganic to organic matter, or organic life coming about, and then evolution being the origins, and then biology meaning or evolution being the common ancestors.
The systems that take the initial amino acids and then build on that, and how it progresses
to life
and changes and diversifies.
And that answers it. That answers kind of your question of order, disorder here on Earth. Out in the galaxy and in the universe itself, the laws that we know of, at least, and their interactions generate galaxies. They generate black holes, which are pretty chaotic, which generate pretty rational things happening.
Create suns, and suns create heavier elements. Heavy elements create,
Ultimately,
rocks,
it appears that everything's being destroyed, and in fact it is. But there's order within that, and eventually it'll go away, probably. We got another call, so we're going to go ahead and take that one right now. Hello, caller, you're on the air. Could we have a nickname for you?
Well, call me Faithless Forest. I heard you saying that maybe you should get a physicist.
Our call for a physicist?
There it is. All right, Faithless.
And I'll be kind of quick. I want to try and answer the question, maybe in terms that the previous caller could understand.
Okay.
He asked how an explosion can create order.
Mm-hmm.
And he talked about working on construction sites. So I'm assuming he's familiar with compressors and compressed air. When you compress air, it gets hot. Conversely, when you let air expand, it gets cold. And long ago when the universe was dense, it was hotter. And as time passed, the universe expanded and cooled. Now, the The mechanisms of the cooling is a little different than when air expands and cools, but not so much that you can't understand it. And we all know that as steam cools, it turns into water, which has more order. And as water cools, it turns into ice, which has more order yet.
Right, that's even more structured.
Now explain to Paul how what began as an explosion, which was in high, let's call it chaos, cools and becomes order. And in terms of something that we've actually, all seen happen. Clouds cool, make rain, water cools, freezes, and forms ice.
Right.
All right?
Well, I think that was a pretty concise explanation. Thank you.
All right. I encourage others to call in. I'm going to clear the line. Bye there.
All right. Thank you, Forrest.
I was thinking with Faithless, they're calling in, there's also another one. Driftwood. P.C. Myers uses this one sometimes. Driftwood, bashing up on the shore, occasionally creates a wall. It's very structured. It's very complicated. If you were to look at a picture of it, I'm borrowing directly from PZ now. If you were to look at a picture of it, you could not, most of us couldn't draw it right away and make it look precise and accurate like it was. This is a complicated structure. And it's just the beating of the waves, the wood comes up on shore, and the lull and
does it look like an artifact?
Oh, well, there are cases where it looks man-made,
right,
so to speak, or and now we'll use this term correctly, intelligently designed. There are cases when things are intelligently designed. We got one right here.
Yeah.
You heard the great music at the beginning of the show. And then there's the appearance of design. And these walls, I don't know if I'd go to say, some of them could look intelligently designed, like a beaver makes a dam. I mean, that looks ridiculous, but it's a functional dam.
Still there's an agency there.
That's what I mean. It's intelligently designed, right? So by a beaver. And in this case, I can't really say that. Can I, without invoking the supernatural, can I say that the water intelligently sculpted this wall?
Poseidon builds driftwood dams or
and then
bulkheads.
You had some mermaids came up there and did it. Now I'm invoking supernatural, and in order to believe it without evidence, I'm invoking faith to support it.
You're taking what we observe and then adding to it assumptions that we can't prove.
Well,
and then
not even proof, but we can't support. You can't support Poseidon. Can you? I don't.
Can I? Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. There was a movie out a while ago, the Titans movie, and I think it was fake. So I just can't support it. So, anyways, I hope we answered Paul's questions. I hope we shed some light on that with the various analogies. And I have another new segment for first military personnel, the Foxhole Atheist.
That's right.
As you know, I was in the 82nd.
I was in the 1st Battalion, 3rd Marines.
Yep. And we have next year an event in Fort Bragg called Rock Beyond Belief. The guy hosting it, Justin Griffith, or used to be in the military. He's now with the Military Religious Freedom Foundation, and looks like we've got another caller. So, Mr. Griffith, I'll hit you up with a shout out in a moment after we take care of this call. Yes, caller. This is Freethought Forum. Could we have a nickname for you?
Yeah. I heard you mention the intelligent design a while ago.
Okay. Yeah.
I was wondering. Look at the palm of your hand.
Oh, okay.
And wiggle your fingers.
Okay.
That didn't just happen because some water washed up on the land. Explain to me how that works.
Okay.
Hang on. First, yeah, this is great. Actually, this is great. So we've got the water beating the wood up on there, and we've got a fence. And let's say I couldn't give you an explanation for that. Would you pose Poseidon as your explanation?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Okay, I'll repeat it. Let's say, I'll get to your answer, I promise. But first, with the walls, I could not on the water, the driftwood. If I could not...
Here's the thing. Water, we can see the water doing it, but I want you to tell me
you're not listening.
How all the nerves and everything that goes to your fingers.
And I'm getting to that.
You connecting together.
I need you to stop for just a second and listen, all right? I'm going to get to that, but you didn't hear me the first time. So with the water, let's say I couldn't observe the water. Let's say that I could not give you an explanation for that wall there. Would you pose an explanation that was supernatural for that wall? You can just give me a yes or no.
Natural for the wall. I can see the wall. Let me ask you this. Okay.
No. I'll tell you what. I'll answer your question about the hand. Okay, because this is kind of a runaway. We're running away with this. I'm not going to pose a supernatural explanation for this hand. I will pose a natural explanation for it. I'll pose, and we'll start with my hand presently as it is now, and we'll go back until I shrug my shoulders and say I don't know. So I would say evolution, common ancestry on this planet, reaches back to some form of abiogenesis, whatever it may be, perhaps the current model, chemical model, to this Big Bang. Hey, did you want me to answer the question or not?
You
did you want me to answer the question or not?
You can't answer the question.
Okay.
All right, caller. I'm so sorry.
Caller, neither can you. Well, it's so complex that we can't make biological hands. So God or aliens.
Well, we didn't get him.
Like
hang on, we didn't get him that far. He never got to say.
But he was pointing.
But I mean,
he may.
The answers are out there. They're just really hard.
Some of the answers may not. Here's the thing: is
I think what he.
Let's take it back all the way.
Go ahead.
Just said a second ago, we said we didn't know, at least us. And then if you take a physicist back, this is the trap that caller right there is getting caught in, is when he pulls it back and he has no more explanations. Like Newton. Newton tried, to figure out the orbits of the planets. I mean, he had the mechanics for it, he just didn't have the computational power. And he said God kept them in their orbits. At the end of Neil deGrasse Tyson goes on about this in a great lecture. I can't remember the name of it. I'll try to get it out there sometime. But at the end of our limits, it doesn't matter who you are, how smart you are. You may invoke God or the supernatural to explain something that you have no evidence for, and that's a problem. That's where we're no longer on board.
I feel safe to say that we're going to have a limit to our knowledge. Now that limit will,
could be
permanently be, pushed back, but, God doesn't get to stand on the other side of that line. Just because, it's unexplainable or currently unexplained doesn't give you reason to posit a God or any kind of thing.
Right.
Without sufficient evidence. You can't just say, well, we don't know, so obviously there's a God. You have to say why you think, if it's going to be taken seriously.
Exactly, and this comes from another straw man argument. Again, we'll link this straight to the show that atheists refuse to accept information regarding, or free thinkers regarding the unknown, and that's just false. We simply say we don't know, and that's the honest thing to say. Is at the limit of my knowledge. I don't know. But what I won't do is pretend I know or posit a claim that has no evidence as a lie. So what this caller was going to do was try to bottleneck me or pin me down in this corner where I would eventually say I don't know.
We don't know.
I did right away. Know. That was my first thing was to say it right away.
We're not biologists, and we're not
But I'm not going to pose a supernatural claim.
So we're not really sure how hands and ears and eyeballs.
Well, maybe we'll hear back
being.
from him.
But
not today.
Yeah, just because we don't know doesn't mean that there's a supernatural source because we perceive, design in it. What about the things that are faulty? Is that poor design? So is now this a very bad designer?
That's a good point. What about the...
our eyes.
I believe it's the Laurent... Yeah. Well, eagle's eyes are better, right? So our
Octopus's eyes are better. We have blind spots. They're prone to failure. Teeth are bad design.
Teeth are terrible.
Why do we eat through the same hole we breathe through? That's a poor design.
Why do we have a recreation facility next to a garbage disposal?
Yeah.
These are interesting design features, and they give all the appearance. I don't know. I mean, as you discover how the body works, how, for example, blood pressure is maintained. This knowledge it shuns away the thought that there are other explanations that are supernatural. It doesn't push them, like force them out.
Right.
But you tend not to rely on them because you see how faulty they are. And atheists, they don't. It doesn't address knowledge. The term atheism. This is, again, don't join the two. The only umbrella you can stick us all under is that we don't believe in a God. That's the only one.
That doesn't make us.
You just can't do it
automatically make us believe in biology
or make us liberals. Although it tends to, we do tend to be liberals. But I've got plenty of conservative friends that are atheists. So anyhow, I'm going to try to get back to
our Christmas show.
Well, yeah,
not our science show.
And this is what this has to do about here, the Foxhole Atheist thing. It's at Travis Air Force Base in California. What we have here is some of the atheists there wanted to get together and put a sign up, and they contacted American Atheists, and American Atheists said, "This is an organization. We'll pay for a sign," and it tentatively was going to be "Have a safe holiday season" from the Travis Air Force Base atheist community. That's it. This was rejected by the chaplain, and then when asked why, the chaplain said there was an investigation being launched. And what this had to do with is previously, another group, the Military Religious Freedom Foundation, operating on their own church-state separation protocol, was attempting to rid any government use of funds and property to support a religion over another. And pretty good argument. But the chaplain said that there is an investigation going on. Now, some of you who know how the military works, this is a postponing technique. All right, there's an investigation. We're preserving the crime scene so that no one can interfere. In other words, we're going to keep this stuff up while this is going on. Pretty nasty technique. But anyhow, the end result of it was that they gave the ground over to this guy at Travis Air Force Base, allowed the sign to come up, and then they dimmed all the lights except for the manger scene. So, it was vandalized multiple times. This manger scene's glowing in the dark. All right, but before the holidays ended, this does have a happy story, happy ending. All the lights were equivalent. They were shedding the same luminescence there on the various holiday. Do we have a holiday?
We have another call?
Yeah, we do have another call, and we'll go ahead and get to that right now. Hello, caller. This is Freethought Forum. Could we have a nickname for you?
A name or nickname?
Steve.
How you doing?
Hey, good. How you doing?
We're good.
Doing all right, Steve.
Thanks for calling.
Have you called before, Steve?
Yeah, I called last week.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, great.
Welcome back.
I didn't know what the discussion was about last week. So.
The same as this week, Christmas.
Oh, that's right. You just wanted to know. Wait, did you ask the definition of atheist?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
When I turned on this week, I caught you at the beginning this time, and I realized that the Big Bang Theory is one of your subjects that you started with.
Well, caller jumped in with it, but we don't mind talking about it.
Oh, okay. I didn't know what your subject actually was today.
It's still Christmas.
But you got this guy that was saying about, I couldn't even understand what a lot of these people are talking about. But we live in an expanding universe, right? So, everything that the telescope has told us that everything is moving away from a center.
That's right.
Well, no, it's not moving away from a center. There's no center.
Oh, yeah,
that's the universe.
Yeah. I can't explain that one, but
yeah, actually, Lawrence Krauss does a good explanation on YouTube. A Universe Out of Nothing, I think, is the name.
And his book comes out next month, by the way. But go ahead, Steve. Was there something else though?
No, that was basically it. Is because the whole idea of the Big Bang Theory was that we are living in an expanding universe, which you put everything in reverse time, and it all comes down to one little solid spot somewhere. And
that's where they get the notion of singularity, and they use explosion because at first it sounds like a great way to describe it, but then it gets run away with.
Yeah, because I don't think it expands in an open space. I think there's weird physics. Because there's nothing outside of the universe necessarily, and it's kind of beyond my pay grade. So
beyond my knowledge for sure.
Okay, well, I must have got some wrong information then, because I always seen that, like I say, we live in an expanding universe, and I don't know if it's slowing down.
Speeding up.
Bound itself back.
It's speeding up.
It's speeding up.
At least that's what the numbers are telling us.
Yeah.
So I listen to too much Stephen Hawking's, I guess. He's got his ideas on stuff, too.
Well, no, he's great.
Actually,
he just had a book. It was, I just read it. I'm sorry?
It must have been a long read.
This one's a good one. It's The Grand Design. And,
okay.
And it's in the same light as, you're probably familiar with the first one. A Brief History of Time, maybe.
And A Brief History of Time.
Okay.
He did a couple of those. He modified those. And since then, he's lost his bet. I can't quite remember the bet, but he lost a bet he made back then. And now...
the Hawking radiation thing?
No, Hawking radiation might be observed. But anyhow, we live in an ever-expanding universe that ultimately will expand itself into nothingness, from what I understand. But I don't know quite the physics with that.
It's just the puny, like 50 years that we've actually been truly exploring space with the Hubble, And,
I know it, right?
And it's hard to tell just in that little minute amount of time, what is really going on out there.
Actually, and we're sending Voyager 1 is about to cross the threshold into interstellar space. They're estimating between imminently to about 3 years out. I don't know, but that thing is traveling something like 600 and something miles per second or minute or something. I don't know. It's traveling, and it's right at the edge of our solar system at about 12 billion miles. And we're just now getting there, and we won't get that opportunity for another 110 years or something. So.
Well, it's like the light. There's been a star that's been dead for 4 million years, and we still see the light of it. So I mean, it's.
Well, some would say it's actively, churning out heavier elements too. So,
but I just can't see one God controlling it all. That's just an amazing, amount of work for one entity to try to grab a hold of. So.
That's true, and they elevate the entity. They say infinitely powerful to accomplish that.
You just make the God bigger. The more you know about the universe, the bigger the God gets.
Yeah, and God's getting bigger and bigger, and infinitely big, in fact, or powerful is what I mean by big. And
since
the thing
infinity is just a placekeeper.
Well, it's just based on no evidence, and it correlates heavy with anthropomorphic principles of how humans try to describe things for the past, 10. 30,000 years.
Yeah, but like the guy about the hand thing. He was go explain that. Well, explain the eyeball. We got. There's another issue, but of course you have organisms that react to light and don't react to light. Mm-hmm. If animals always adapt, giraffes adapted their long necks to eat from the higher trees. There's always the whole world adapts to. Nature adapts itself.
Exactly.
To survive.
There is a natural selection, even now I'm stepping out of biology, but there is a natural selection of how galaxies can come together. A black hole forms super black holes, and the relationship of matter around it. There is a natural selection going on there, but natural laws. Yeah.
And now they're talking about white energy, or what is it? White energy.
Yeah, this is where we start. I don't know. We're getting. We're getting deep in it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. But, I know you got other callers probably. So.
Well, hey, thanks for your input, Steve.
Okay, hey, thanks for
watching.
All right, bye-bye.
All right.
Well, Let's talk about Christmas.
Let's talk about Christmas.
What did you do for the Christian Christmas? I mean, did you do anything? I assume no, but did you do anything for the 25th?
Yeah, I opened presents.
Oh man.
And I have kids.
Yeah.
They're going to tie me up if I don't. Yeah, we went to the mall. We, took pictures of Santa. We opened up presents. Christmas tree, stockings, you name it.
And any wars out there?
I took a sick day. I was on sick leave during the war, so I missed a lot of it. But I was there in spirit. I guess if that means anything.
No Obama troops war on Christmas.
They're gonna supplant all the footage of his jackbooted thugs going around stealing people's holiday trees.
Here's the thing: is it's like this little thing at Travis Air Force Base.
Yeah,
we're trying to prevent government from supporting one religion over the other. The founding fathers knew this long ago, and they made it to where we have church-state separation, and that way nobody can have that higher ground. And the Christian war on Christmas was actually the hostile takeover of Christmas, to which now is so old that the only thing left is the manger, the birth of Jesus. I mean,
right.
We've got the tree, Santa, we were just naming it all off,
yeah.
Holly. The festival that goes on this whole time kind of blurs Thanksgiving up too, even. And herein lies the straw man that stole Christmas. Is there a war on Christmas? The only time you see people active about Christmas in this way is when it's a public property, tax dollars,
right.
Military base. Public property and tax dollars pretty much gets it all.
Mm-hmm.
And it's where, let's be honest here, in the past couple of generations, sure, government buildings had all that. People swore on the Bible in courts, and we know that they shouldn't have been doing it. And now people are speaking up. And yes, the line's getting moved back to where it should be. And it might hurt some Christians out there, but there are a bunch of Christians, in fact, that, for example, with this whole thing at the Air Force Base, there's a large Christian organization which came to the backing of it was the California Council of Churches, came to the back of the Military Religious Freedom Foundation, American Atheists. So we support this. They're all three joining forces to say the state can't do this. The government can't do it.
Believers who are, I guess, theistic groups that work in conjunction with secular groups to, keep government and religion separated.
And why doesn't that happen in good old towns like Sumner County? Well, it did happen, but why isn't it so aware that when people try to bring youth ministers into a church, that when, like on this Air Force base, that's still unconstitutional. Even though they made it equal for everybody who participated, it's still unconstitutional because they're picking. There's only 5 scenes, like a Jewish one and the Christian, but was everyone represented? Do they celebrate Ramadan on government property? I doubt it. And you can't do that. And your modern Christians know this. It's these fundamentalist kind of dyed-in-the-wool type that...
It does seem to be a certain, breed. I guess it's not definitely not all Christians.
Well, we have a local...
and they don't even seem, that active about it until they're riled. They get riled up about, they're taking Bibles out of schools, or they're taking, they don't want.
You can't pray in school. Did you hear? I mean, we've only sung about it every episode. Rick Perry says they're taking prayer out of school. You find me. Most Christians I know pray before a test, so I don't know if it does any good.
I mean, you'd have to be able to take the prayer out of the Christian.
Yeah, you can't do that.
You can't do that.
You can't do that. What you cannot do is have a teacher hold a prayer for all the students, and then, I'm sorry, you don't believe.
You can't be disruptive.
Yeah.
It can't be led by a school official.
Not during class time. Right. I mean, not in certain areas that are reserved for class time. Well, disruptive.
Well, I guess it could happen during class time if it's not disruptive. If you pray before a test, or I don't know how prayer works.
Yeah, it's
pretty sure it doesn't,
it's the playground, and it's the kid on top of the monkey bars, looking down at everyone else like, this is my spot.
You know,
right?
if you want to go out to the flagpole and do that little prayer thing, I don't know what it is.
I actually did that.
Did you?
1999, Carter High School. Yours truly, John Clark, was hand in hand, bringing people to Christ.
Actually, Christmas,
And
I said grace. Well, I didn't say grace, but the family does, and I just kind of participate.
I actually actively went on that school and did unconstitutional things, and I'm very ashamed of. But I know better now, and I look at how people looked at me then, and I think to myself, wow, you know, that was a big mistake. And, you know, that's part of my motivation for trying to fix it. You know, this can't keep going on. No one told me.
Yeah.
You know, I was being enlisted by a military organization. No, but a cult almost. I felt like that was pushing me to do things in the school. And when I realized that I was being pushed a little too hard, I pushed back. And, you know, the result of reason came through. You know, I read the Bible. Is what I did.
Yeah, that's what. If you want,
jumped out.
If you want more atheists, encourage your children to read
just
Bibles.
read the Bible. Buy them the King James version, actually.
Well, the only true version.
Well,
or so I'm told.
It's got to be the #1 book for turning us around. So
it is. It's great.
But again, back to Christmas a little bit. So many pagan influences.
So many pagan influences.
And what's funny is Christmas. I mean, Christmas. It's been celebrated since I think about 300 or 400. Christians have celebrated the birth of Christ. I mean, that's a long time. That's longer than Santa for sure. That's longer than.
I think he.
Well, I think so. I think he was kind of influenced off of Father Christmas and which is this Anglican,
a monk,
not Anglican,
or not a monk, but a bishop. I think. I don't know.
I dug up quite a bit on just Santa, and it's actually a really good read. But you find the influences from Father Christmas, and then
there's a lot of Odin references with the sleigh and
who I guess is referred also as Wotan or Woden.
Yeah.
And that's where we get Wednesday from. It's Odin's Day. I didn't even know that. And I'm not bothered.
I think most of the days of the week are named after gods.
Well, almost everything you could think of seems to be named after a god now. That I mean, it's except for computer. You know, that's
sure
not named after
a computer.
But you know,
it will be. Once the
I'm not offended by that use of holiday, holy day. You know, it's the word we use now. But it's been secularized. And that's what we'll be arguing that's what I am arguing that has happened to Christmas. It has been secularized. The Christians gave up that ground when they kept grabbing pagan influences. And then they started, once they got Christmas, they wanted everything around Christmas. And that was probably a bad idea because now they want to grab the whole holiday. I'm sorry, but as the season unfolds, historically, people always have celebrated this time. We let on a little bit last time about everything's in surplus, right?
Yeah.
The meat's in surplus. We can't feed the cows because we can't grow the crops. So we slaughter the cows.
That's why we have these feasts.
I'm not going to let the flies eat it.
Dinner,
I'm going to eat it.
Thanksgiving, all these things.
I know less about Easter, but yeah, I mean, this is and as you incorporate all these things into Christmas, it just went away. And now the war on Christmas is to put the Christ back in Christmas. And it's a mistake. You're going to have to alienate all these pagan influences. Actually, that may not be a mistake.
I think when you put Christ back in Christmas by imposing it on others, you're running into problems. I don't think you can take it out of like churches.
Oh, right.
I mean, churches are
cannot.
Always going to.
You're right. I totally misspoke there. Yeah.
I mean,
you cannot take Christ from Christians. You can't take Ramadan from Muslims.
I wouldn't want to.
Yeah. Well, this has been a program of the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalists of East Tennessee. And if I get my closing page up, I'll know everything else to say.
It's time to start wrapping up.
Yeah, you can contact us at freethoughtforum@yahoo.com. You can also see the show, as we said, Tuesdays, 5 to 6 p.m. at ctvknox.org.
Please send us... Thanks to Sam and Jonas for answering phones. Everybody,